Hello! Today I'm going to be explaining 3 creatures and entities from the Backrooms lore that I don't think really anybody knows exist. These 3 are specifically strange, uncanny, and they exist in the depths of the Backrooms levels that you probably don't even know exist. So if that sounds awesome and you can't wait to hear about it, stick around for the explanations. And if you want more classic videos like this, drop a like on this video, that way I know to make more. And if you really want to be cool, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to hit 1.5 million subs, and it's free. Alright, without further introduction, let's talk about 3 Backrooms entities that are kind of strange and definitely deadly. Entity number 82, also known as Growlers, are hostile sets of beings that exist only within indoor levels of the Backrooms, so places that have houses or office buildings and things like that. They have a class 3 threat level on them from the fandom for being aggressive towards any life form and to people and other entities as well. So it really doesn't matter who you are, they're going to be aggressive. They also have a baseline cognitive function, which means they're not really smart, but they know what to do. Growlers themselves appear as uncanny, blobby masses of tangled electrical wires. There's no bone structure, no flesh, no veins, no blood, just garbled general shapes of creatures on 4 legs. Mainly, they're comprised of yellow and blue and red wires, although there are other colors like grayscale wires and different ones like that you might see. Each individual growler has the ability to shape and to contort itself into any means possible. Whether it's a circle, a flat shape, a cylinder, they can slide under doorways, they can crawl through vents, and they can do this because they're just wires. If you've seen a squid in real life, how they can go through very small holes, that's what growlers can do as well. But the general shape they take when they're in their normal state is the outline of a quadruped with no head. They crawl around various levels that are indoors, of course, and specifically places where the light is not really there. They like small, cramped corridors or basements or sublayers. Each instance of a growler can range very drastically in size as well. Most of them, though, are around 2 meters tall on all 4s, which for the Americans watching, that is 6.5 feet. In rarer instances of encountering growlers, you might experience a gray version or a purple version or a specific red version. There's not much difference in the actual creature itself. They still behave the same, but they do look pretty different. Now, although these entities are just comprised of wires, that's all they are, is wires, they weigh an unnatural amount, with the estimate being over 400 kilograms or 881 pounds, which is literally absurd for something that has no bones, no meat, no flesh. It is just wires, and it weighs 800 pounds. On top of that, they are very aggressive, and they like to hunt. So if this wired, headless quadruped thing runs at you that's 800 pounds and it jumps on you, you're not going to be able to do too much. As I said earlier, the growlers do walk around and they roam these deep backrooms levels with the crowded and cramped corridors, but on top of this, they also spend much of their time nesting. Now, what do I mean by nesting? I'm not talking about a little soft, pillowy feather thing like a bird's nest. I'm talking about these weird nests of wires and metal that are in dark and dry areas of the backrooms. Growlers tangle themselves up in these little nests and they use them to charge themselves and to ambush people from as well. So for example, if some wanderer walks into a basement and they don't see anything else besides a basement, they won't really notice that small clump of wires in the corner, because why would you? They're just wires. And growlers use this to their advantage to sneak attack. They also emit very odd electronical vocalizations that kind of resemble the noises that Bumblebee makes in the Transformers movies, if you've ever seen those. They can kind of alternate between different channels, so to speak, in order to find right noises that will attract and lure prey towards them. Since they do walk on 4 legs, they also have a very, very fast amount of speed that they can chase you with. They're very fast. But the thing that propels them, since they don't have bones or muscle tissue, is the fact that they run on these electrical currents that flow through their wires. The electric is soaked up in the form of kinetic energy when they're sitting there in their little nests, and they use this energy to shoot themselves forward and launch themselves at their prey. Now, the way that growlers reproduce is asexually, by chopping off small parts of themselves, their little wires, and letting those tiny little wires grow up into adult wires. They just grow. How sweet. But in order to end the life of a growler, growler if you have to defend yourself. You have to use strong, sharp blades to kind of hack away pieces of their wires until the electrical current cannot keep them alive anymore. But remember, they weigh 800 pounds, they're fast, and they're huge, so you can't just knock them over, you gotta cut at them to save your life. Now this can still be dangerous because there are currents flowing through the wires of electric, right? You don't want to just touch live electric, so you have to be careful with how you do it, but the only way to get rid of a growler is by chopping it up into little pieces. But yeah, that was the growler entity. Not really a fun one that you want to run into. Acolyte 1, the false negatives. These are a very disturbing group of entities that have spread throughout the backrooms over time. At their most basic, they're kind of a copied and pasted version of a creature called Acolyte 1, which is this thing, this picture you're seeing. Acolyte 1 has apparently copied itself and its knowledge and its mind and infused it into life forces inside of mannequins throughout various parts of the complex. Those mannequins are what false negatives are. They're like a cheap copy of this Acolyte creature. But in order to understand all that stuff, I need to explain what an Acolyte is. Acolyte 1 is a 192 centimeter tall creature that takes the appearance of a headless mannequin. These mannequins are usually found inside of dead malls or empty shopping centers, which lots of backrooms levels are those, so you have to watch out. The creature is made of plastic on the outside, but the inside seems to have regular human anatomy with blood, bones, and hearts. Acolyte 1 specifically has the ability to freely transfer its consciousness through other mannequins to get them to do its bidding. And that's how you get those false negative mannequin things that I'll show you now. But here's what the fandom has to say about them. Quote, "What mankind knows to be mannequins are only known to be so because of the universe and its duty to keep up their veils. Acolyte 1 does not understand this. Too overwhelmed with arrogance, it creates its own in every pattern and practice of human history. These dummies, as they're so called, move and breathe like the common folk, and are a stark anomaly to the natural order. Their robust movements could only mean chaos and disarray for everyone else. Humanity has already fallen in one timeline to their psychopathy, and now each strain of society after theirs is forced to live with the knowledge of their possible death and the tools to detect it again. These are not intentional sapient minds, but are forced upon them by the mannequins." So as you just heard through that little read-through, false negatives are these warped, lesser copies of humans' consciousness and life shoved into the body of a plastic mannequin. Cool. These creatures aimlessly walk around the various levels in the lore, bending and snapping at their joints in order to move. Some of them have heads, some have no arms, some have one leg, but all instances of this entity have a very uncanny, unnatural image and vibe. Think about like robots that kind of look human but aren't, and they're always lagging and pinging constantly like these creatures are too. Their movements are not fluid at all. They're very jerky and weird looking. They bend and they snap erratically, turning their heads 360, flipping their arms upside down. It's really strange. When the mannequins enter an active state, they can move around freely, and they emit very odd electrical noises while doing so. They then will use that electrical noise to jolt and catapult themselves to reckless abandon to move forward. Kind of similar to growlers from the first entry. The creatures also run at a slightly higher speed than humans, so trying to escape by sprinting away probably won't work. The only way to keep yourself safe and alive while experiencing an acolyte or an instance of these copies is to maintain eye contact with them at all times, just so you know where they're at, because they usually only hunt by sneak attacks and ambushes, and if they know that you can see them, they're not going to do that. These creatures really only linger around dead malls and shopping centers, so if you stay vigilant and if you keep all eyes swiveling and yourself 10 toes down, you could say, you're probably going to be okay if you stay vigilant. Nevertheless, they are very strange looking, almost human looking. They have human blood, but they're not. It's very strange, very weird. Finally for today is the entity numbered 115, or more commonly known as sluggards. Now, sluggards are a humanoid-shaped creature, sort of, with the biology of, you guessed it, slugs. Their heads all the way down to their little tails are like a stretched out version of a garden slug from real life. These entities live together in relative peace in small colonies throughout the deeper levels of the backrooms, and they take on sort of a tribal-esque caste system. And apparently, they've been doing this for a long time. They've allegedly been in the back backrooms for hundreds of years with their little colonies. The bottom half of a sluggard is essentially just one appendage. They don't have two legs like a human, they just have this identical body of one elongated slug that wriggles around on the ground beneath them in order to move. As such, they secrete a liquid trail to help them move better, just like real slugs do, and it's pretty gross to look at. While you might think they also move really slowly because they're just giant slugs, they actually can maintain a pace that's pretty similar to a human's walk. However, these entities, these sluggards, they can't run, so you can probably outrun one. The good news is they are not aggressive, especially not near as much as the past two on this list. They are just kind of strange and very weird. They live really far out from society, and you never really interact with one because they're always in their little tent village camps. And outside of the tribes, they don't really leave. So if you interact with a sluggard, consider yourself lucky because they're very elusive and very rare. Sluggards eat just about anything they can. They digest whatever they want to, although they particularly enjoy mushrooms and plant matter, kind of like a regular slug from real life. They also have the ability to learn and speak languages, like English, but they are limited to the words they can say because their vocal cords don't work properly. But I figured I'd end this video off with a slightly less strange creature that doesn't want to eat people, but is still very strange nonetheless. I mean, these are humanoid slugs that live in the deep parts of the backrooms, but it kind of seems pretty cool to stay at their little cabins and camps and stuff. But anyways, those were 3 entities from the backrooms lore that no one really ever talks about, so I decided to. If you enjoyed the video, truly enjoyed it, please leave a like, please subscribe for more. Those things are both free. They make me happy and it helps the channel out significantly. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can check out my Instagram, Not Brugly, or my TikTok, The Brugly, for even more content and behind the scenes and stuff like that. Also leave a comment telling me what you want to see on the channel, and if you have anything specific, put it down there. I might get to it eventually. But thank you all so much for your support and everything you do. I got a lot of stuff planned, and I really, really hope that you're gonna be hyped for it and be excited for it. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.